This with computer. I have to do this. Do we have a Jabber in here? We should.
No,
it's just this, guys, but I just need to get a Jabber is what I need to do. It doesn't have a phone number. It's just streaming.
Only streaming.
Can somebody? Yep.
It's like a little
Oh, it's just a circle one. Somebody need you. Well, this is really low share. I know you're telling me. It's all done. It's going out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. So your anniversary is my wedding anniversary. Anniversary.
What number is it? What number is it? 6. All right.
Yeah.
All right. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good seeing you.
All right, good afternoon, teammates. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and so many new faces as well. My name is Michaela Galina, and I'd like to welcome all of you to our Q2 Town Hall. We'd like to thank our Cleveland team who are together joining us remotely, our Denver teammates, and all of our other teammates around the world. We have an exciting day today, and we're going to move on pretty quickly here because we also happen to be reporting our Q2 results in about 30 minutes. So in order to put teammates first and to live our shared value of together, we've brought everyone here to share our messages before we go live on the call with the street. So you might see a few of us trickling out to get on that live call, but we're going to try to get as much as we can done today before we head out for that. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our president and CEO, Scott Drake.
Thank you, Michaela. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? Good? It has been so good to be here this week. I'm never anywhere for a full week, and it has been amazing to be here. So thank all of you for hosting our board meeting on Monday and Tuesday, and having us around for the full week has just been really a treat. I want to begin with a very important announcement regarding a teammate. And where is he? There he is. Yeah. A teammate who has done an extraordinary amount for this company over the last 3 years. He is a teammate of very high intellect, very hardworking, lives our shared values, yet he is going to be leaving the company as of September 30th. And I wanted to thank Ajay for the incredible work that he has done and wish him very, very well for his next venture. Ajay, thank you. Speaking of integrity and candor, we always begin with a message on doing the right thing. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but pretty extraordinary news has come out recently. 4 household names, J&J, Philips, GE, Siemens, are in the news in a way you don't want to be in the news. The FBI and the Brazilian authorities are pursuing these 4 companies that Brazilian authorities describe as, quote unquote, a cartel. exactly how you want to be described. And these are great companies in so many different ways. And it is such a great reminder that doing the wrong thing, taking a shortcut, trying to get sale, trying to get cost savings, whatever the goal might be, it is never worth it doing it the wrong way. And I think a company like J&J, with their world famous credo that they have, if they're prone to that, it tells us that we're prone to that. We're all human beings, and under the right circumstances, we're all prone to doing the wrong thing. So we have to remind one another, we have to hold one another accountable that there is never a sale, there is never a cost savings project. I'm looking right at Drew. There is never a gross margin expansion opportunity that we should seize by doing the wrong thing. And we have to be ever vigilant and ever present to that reality of always doing the next right thing. So we will continue to remind ourselves of that, recognizing that we are all flawed human beings, and together we can remind one another of what's right. So let me take a moment and take us back about a year ago. I had just joined the most amazing company in the world about 12 months ago. We had our first town hall meeting. Do you remember, Kuhn? We were over in the other building. We had a little iPad, kind of sometimes working, sometimes not, blinking on and off. Mates from Cleveland saying, we can't hear it anymore and we can't see it. Teammates from around the world, you know, hearing half of our message. Hopefully it's getting a little bit clearer. And at that time, we talked about, for the first time, our big four. ARD, most important thing we do, attract, retain, and develop the top talent on the planet. That with the right team, we would operate with wicked strategic clarity. Now, why do we say wicked, Mike? That was good. It's memorable, and we root for all the right sports teams, right? Not long after that, we did our first HPMS meeting where we identified our vital few and key drivers and started to use that language. With the right team and the right strategy, we execute as if lives depend on it, because indeed, in our case, they do. And the bookend, number 4 to number 1, ARD, is to be really thoughtful and purposeful about our culture, to co-architect our culture, to recognize every word and every action is having an impact on our culture, either positively or negatively. Began to utilize those words, and we agreed to a set of shared values that we would aspire to live by. Think about what we've done since that period of time 12 months ago. And think about it kind of chronologically in terms of how customers experience ViewRay. At the very front end, fed by our vision that we were to re-envision radiation therapy to conquer cancer. And we would pursue that as if our lives depend on it, because indeed they do. That was our shining light. We decided, because of that, we had to have a much larger commercial team all around the world. Every customer needed to hear about our technology. Every patient deserves to be treated with the most precise and accurate radiation therapy delivery system in the world. So it made nothing but sense to build a much larger commercial team. So that's what we did. We began to do that virtually immediately under Jim Alexi's leadership. Then from purchase order on, think about the investments that we've made with that same motivation to treat every patient with Meridian. We, for the first time, built a proactive vault preparedness team. That team is largely in place. It will have to continue to scale over time. The goal of that team and our installation team was to reduce the time frame from purchase order to first patient treated from 18 months where it was previously down to inside of 12 months. What have we done? The two most recent installations that we've done, I think they're the most two recent, Adam. One was done in 261 days and the other in 330. Outstanding work. That's what happens when you ARD really, really well and you have a clear goal of 18 months down to inside of 12 and you let this team do what they do best, execute. Extraordinary work. The other realization that we had, and again, I think Jim deserves a lot of credit for this, is we're not just in the business of selling Meridian systems. We're in the business of driving therapy adoption. We had customers that had Meridian systems for years that weren't doing on-table adaptive treatment. That was on us. So we decided to build a team that while we're doing the vault preparedness work and the installation work, we're going to train them. And think about recent installations. Think about Dana-Farber and the Moffitt Cancer Center. Day one of treatment, treating multiple forms of cancer, day one. And adapting or adopting adaptive treatment very, very quickly. So that work, extraordinary work that the team has done. We have concurrently invested even more heavily in our innovation pipeline. I think Dr. Dempsey's team, where's Nati? Is she in here? It's about doubled, give or take, right? Excellent work being done there. We've built a clinical team. Our clinical pipeline is building. There's an awesome group that's driving the SMART study right now and figuring out what other data do we need to provide the marketplace to remove any doubt that cancer patients should be treated on the Meridian system. I think it's extraordinary the work that all of you have done in that period of time. That's the big picture. That's the most important stuff. Let's do ARD, drive wicked strategic clarity, execute as if lives depend on it, and be very thoughtful and purposeful about building a culture that this great team wants to be a part of for many, many years and decades ahead. That's the big picture. Let's talk about Q2 just for a second. We are going to talk about with Wall Street, what time is it? Okay, nobody's allowed to trade stock, okay? The market's open for another 3 minutes, Michaela. Robert, fair warning, we've done our best. So we're gonna report our Q2, we're gonna send out a press release in a moment. And even though all of that stuff that I just said is true, that's the big picture, that's what matters most, what we're about to tell Wall Street, I don't think they're gonna like. We're gonna beat revenue in Q2, which they'll love. In fact, we'll beat it pretty handily, but we're gonna take our revenue guidance down by 5 systems. Two reasons. Number one, we have a distribution partner in a country that I won't name, it rhymes with APAN, and they committed on multiple occasions to buying 2 systems this year. They committed that in late 18 and also here in the first half of 19, because we have 2 customers in Japan that want to not only upgrade their Cobalt systems, but have an incremental Meridian system at each hospital. Great news for us, great news for patients. This distribution partner went through a management change and they're questioning whether or not they want to be in this business. So we're super disappointed, our customers are disappointed. I'm quite sure that these are going to be very happy Meridian centers in the future, but I'm not sure we can get those 2 systems done in 2019. Leaves us 3 more systems. We have 3 systems that we're in the process of driving vault preparedness, but they're doing site planning and permitting work that we're largely not in control over. That's going longer than anticipated. So those 3 systems are kind of pushing up on year end in terms of whether or not we'll be able to recognize revenue here in this calendar year. So all 5 of those systems or all 5 of those centers will be very happy Meridian centers in the not too distant future. I just guarantee investors that it's going to happen inside of this calendar year. So Wall Street's not going to like it. Does it really matter in the long run? No. But you've seen what's happened to our share price. in the last 12 months that I've been here. At one time, it was almost $14 a share. About 4.5 months later, it was $5 a share. Did the intrinsic value of this company change 2.5-fold, 4 or 5 month period of time? The answer is no. So if you're looking to identify, are we creating value for our customers? Are we creating value as a team? I would encourage you to not look at your stock screen, whether it's high or low, but look at the following metrics that I think matter most. Let me ask Jim Alexi to come on up and share a little story. We've all kind of been through our versions of this, but I think Jim's version is pretty poignant. Jim?
Well, thank you for applauding before I even told my story. Oh, I guess that was for you. Well, thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my experiences. We're in an interesting time with this company, and I have two advantages over many people. One is, and most significantly, I get to talk to customers almost on a weekly basis, and it's an amazing opportunity to see the impact of our technology on patients, on customers, physicians who have dedicated their careers to advancing Meridian. And but I wanted to tell you about my career experience. I was with a company that did an IPO in 2000. We had a bright future. We bounced around $9 where we came out. We went to 18, and we went to $24. We were on a rocket ship, and things were great. And then we missed a quarter, and there were some macroeconomics things. We went to $3. And everybody was like, "Oh, we're done for. We're in bad shape." I would walk down the halls, and people would have a stock ticker going to see what we were doing, and so over the course of time, I started to think about how to message, how would I handle that, and so I started to think about what is really significant about the place that I work, the place that I give my energy and time to, and one of the beautiful things about being in the medical device business is that you're not selling telephones, you're not selling just electronic, you're selling something that materially impacts people's lives, and if you had an opportunity to see the reaction from patients. I had an opportunity to be in Europe a couple of weeks ago, and a woman came up to me and said, "Are you with this company?" I said, "Yes." And she told me a story. This was her second recurrence, and 3 different people had said no more radiation. And she was treated on the Meridian system in 5 fractions. And I walked out there and said, no matter how tired I am and how much I miss my family and whatever else I'm doing, that makes it worth it. This is significant. And so my message to you is that in the short term, people in New York are going to say things about our company, and could you execute in a certain 90-day time frame? And the answer may be yes, and they're going to be over the moon and put a valuation, and it may be no, and they're going to be say, well, I don't know about the company. And boy, I wish that success were in a straight line, but it's not. But most importantly, and this is really my message to you, whatever you do with this company, it's significant. I have seen the end result, and I wish that I could share it with each one of you, that your work product makes a difference in people's lives. And it's what makes working here so important. And I'll tell you, I am as excited today to put this technology into the marketplace. And believe I had an opportunity to talk to our board of directors earlier this week. And I've been in the medical device business since 1989. And I've had the opportunity to introduce 5 new technologies into the industry. And I truly believe this is the most significant technology I've ever been associated with it. And so my encouragement to you is just double down, realize that your work product means something. We're privileged as the sales force to be your representative in the field. We're representing your work product. And so believe in this company, believe that what you're doing is significant and makes a difference, and shut out the noise. We're going to build something special. We are building something special, not only from a technology, but from a culture. And I thank each one of you for being here. I pray and hope that you'll just really double down on our intensity and to build this and to provide this opportunity for patients. So thanks for giving me an opportunity to share my experience.
And I'll share on the heels of that, you guys, the incredible work that Jim and his team are doing. If you look at the pipeline, and we don't share this information publicly, but if you look at the pipeline charts that we look at weekly today versus where we were before, we are calling on some multiple of customers than what we were doing previously with that much larger sales force that I mentioned. Some multiple of customers. And we measure where they are through this meridian process, and each letter has a different definition all the way down to N, which is negotiating and redlining a contract. And where we are in that process, I think you would be very heartened by that. I think Eric gets great visibility into that on a weekly basis. And the other thing that I'm about to share with Wall Street, we have more multi-system deals that we're in the midst of negotiating right now than ever in the history of the company. And the third thing that I'm going to point out is that historically we've had a sales cycle that's been about 18 to 24 months long. We have evidence of customers that we have pulled through that process in less than half a year. Pretty extraordinary. And a company not too far away from here defined us as a niche a couple of years ago. And they said, well, Meridian won't be a niche if they can ever get outside of academic centers into community centers. Well, guess what? We did that. And then they said, well, yeah, maybe you can do that on a couple of occasions, but you'll never get into freestanding clinics. And then we did that. And then in this quarter, we sold our second system to a freestanding clinic. And with the APM, or the alternate payment method, that's been proposed here recently that'll be finalized in the November timeframe, our clinical and economic value proposition is even more compelling in that environment. So I feel very, very good about where we're going. Again, I would look at orders. Revenue follows orders. Gross margin is going to help us. We're focusing on driving that, and also our cash utilization. And the world is awash in cash. Worry not. There are plenty of places that we can go access cash if we need it out in the future. We may at some point in time. I promise you, there's more than enough cash in the world for us and everybody else to be fully capitalized. We have an extraordinary business in front of us, and we're building it very, very well. So let me now turn it over to Shar. He's going to talk to us about a couple of things, including how we're doing on our bonus forecast. Shar?
Well, hello, everyone. So I get the privilege of talking about the bonus and how we're doing here. I think punchline, we're tracking towards about 75 to 100% to our target bonus. There's places where we're doing well. There's places where we could be doing better, but there's still meaningful progress taking place. So high level from a financial perspective, orders are on track. We're getting traction. As we've said publicly, we think orders in the second half of the year are going to be better than the first half, and we're on track with the pipeline that's building. Revenue, that's really the big news. We had, I want to say, about 100% growth from Q2 of last year to Q2 of this year. But as we look at the back half of the year, and with the vaults that are in Europe and also the distributor, those projects being delayed, that's really what's affecting our revenue. It's not that we've lost deals, it's just a timing issue. And for a capital equipment company, when you talk about numbers in the teens, 1 or 2 moves here and there, and I don't think we're of the size or of the intelligence of predicting when the capital is going to get installed from a quarter-to-quarter basis. So that lumpiness is going to be there until our business gets bigger, and then we have better predictability to it. So I think that's normal. It's just the phase of the company that we're in. And then from a cash perspective, the team's doing a ton of work. We were making great progress there, but with some of these delays, again, it's just a timing issue of those. That inventory is going to be on our books as opposed to being in the field. And then reliability and quality, overall uptime, we're at 97.7. So we're getting close to our goal of 98%. From a first 90 days uptime, we're at Q1 was about 96.5, Q2 was about 93. So we're kind of in that range of getting to our 94%, but the team's doing a lot of work to progress there. And then audit readiness, what a ton of you are working on. And we're now moving towards rolling teammates off and back onto Iris. So thank you for all the work. Phase 1 is complete. The way Amanda puts it is we're out of warning letter territory unless the auditor is not a friendly auditor. So it's really based on that end. But as we move and complete phase 2, we feel that we're going to be really in good shape regardless of which auditor comes in. And then finally, on the innovation front, if any of you have had exposure to what Olympus is or what's being worked on there, pretty incredible work, a lot of milestones that we're achieving, but that team is doing some amazing work to help treat patients in the future, and that's progressing very well as well. So overall, right now we're on track for about 75 to 100% of our target bonus. So great job, team, tons of great work, and we're going to continue doing this so that we continue our success and build this business over the long term. So going into Vital Few key drivers, what you remember, and I think what I shared last time, there's a bunch of Vital Fews and key drivers that were grayed out because we reallocated a whole bunch of our teammates to QIP. Good news, since we've been making progress, we've now started working on those other Vital Few and key driver projects. And this is the process. It's every 6 months we'll review it. We'll say these are the most important projects we'll work on. If something comes up that we've got to change directions, we'll initiate that. We'll hold some of those. We'll reallocate resources. And then when we're rolling those resources off, we'll go back to working on those projects. So as you can see, processes and procedures was one of the biggest pain points for our teammates. We're now starting to work on that. Part of it in the QIP, part of it, there's other processes we're working on. And then Iris is now we're moving forward. I think there's a small group of teammates that are now starting to work on it, but I'd say over the course of the next 2 to 3 months, we expect to start having more teammates go on to Iris with an expected date in November of releasing that and launching it in the field. So lots of work to do to finish QIP and get back onto innovation, but we're in good shape and the team feels pretty confident we're going to get there. Again, it's not going to be a straight line. There's going to be surprises, but I know we've got the team in place to resolve those and get that incredible technology to the field. And the most important part of Iris, everyone wants biological imaging. That is the single biggest thing that they want. High-speed MLC definitely is important, but DWI is what everyone in the field is talking about, and we want to get that to physicians so that they can do the research and they can start treating patients in a much better way. In their eyes and in ours as well. And finally, I think Parashar, where are you? There's Parashar. You guys saw the announcement. So one of the areas that had gotten grayed out, reimbursement. Parashar has joined us recently as our Senior VP of Government Affairs and Market Access and doing a ton of great work really with the new APM model, influencing it so that I would say patients benefit and really drive therapy adoption for Meridian and MR-guided radiotherapy. So tons of work to be done there, both here and in Japan, and that's starting to accelerate at speed. And you'll hear a lot more about that over the course of the next couple of months with what CMS is doing. And then lastly, PO to 365, we've changed that to Rapid Adapt. I think it's a lot nicer name. And we've got a couple pilot programs right now with teammates or with hospitals to really accelerate the process to drive therapy adoption of our technology. So tons of great work being done. Let's keep that going and super excited about what the outcomes are going to be over the coming months. So last one, I'll go a little deeper into QIP. Again, the vitalist of the vital few that we're working on today. Priority 1, complete. So how many, please raise your hands if you're working on this. Come on, you can raise it a lot higher than that. I want to say there's 40 or 50 teammates that are working on this, if not more, plus a bunch of consultants that are helping us out as well. So incredible work done, huge lift. Thank you for everything that you've done. This is meaningful. This is foundational to what we're doing. And now that we're in phase 2, you've de-risked where our risk level was. We still don't want FDA to show up now, but if they do, we're in a much, much better place if they do that. We have not gotten any indications that they are coming, but let's finish up priority 2 and really roll back to innovation is where we want to be. And lastly, thank you very much. And I think it's time for questions and answers. And we'll bring Scott again. Remember, hard questions, Scott, easy questions, me. We're good.
Always, always. All right, you guys, let's go. You want to flip the slide? I would like to also thank the team. I should have mentioned that before when I was talking about the, huge lift of work that's being done. The work that Amanda and Helen and Sean and the whole team have done is just extraordinary. And it really ties back to the message at the front end. Do the next right thing. I think some companies might have said, well, that's not all that important. It's not going to affect, the share price or this or that. But really getting our quality system to where it needs to be is the right thing to do. It's the right thing for patients. It's the right thing for our customers. And ultimately, it's the right thing for our teammates and shareholders in the long run. So it all knits together. And I really want to thank the team for the extraordinary work that you guys have done. So I have just a few minutes before we start our call. So we're going to change up the order a little bit. Normally we do Q&A at the very end, but I think we've got a few things after this, if I'm not mistaken. And let's open it up to any questions that people have. And do we have a mechanism to email questions in? All right, B, thank you. Questions, comments, advice?
Scott, what's some of the good news that we can look forward to coming up? We
Good.
talked a little bit about metrics to look for. Can you share a little bit more about upcoming news?
Yeah, I would tell you guys, I feel like the metric, and I tell everybody this, right? Teammates, and I talk this way with investors and customers as well. The number one metric from my perspective, the most important thing is orders. Why do I say that? I think orders is, that represents a customer voting with their pocketbook that they want to treat their patients on Meridian. That's the first real tangible thing that happens before a patient is treated. So that is the number one metric in my estimation that I pay attention to. I'm on weekly calls with Jim and team, and I think the most exciting thing that I can probably share about our future is, what I talked about earlier on the pipeline. We're calling on some multiple of customers versus what we were doing before. More multi-system deals, a faster pipeline, and that's just got to continue to grow and grow. And then everything that we're doing from a clinical data and innovation standpoint should only speed that flywheel going forward. Then all of those other metrics that I mentioned, revenue, cash, gross margin, it all feeds off of that. And everything from PO onward, whether you're talking about vault preparation, installation, training customers, all of that stuff. The other one I didn't mention, the one-to-one relationship with field service engineers in every Meridian system out there, not the most economic decision anybody's ever made, right? We're spending a boatload of money on that. What's behind it? Radical customer delight. Really delighting our customers, having that really high uptime that Shar mentioned. And that too is going to feed the pipeline of future centers being raving fans of our technology. And then we'll be able to lean things out from an engineering perspective going forward. But let's get it right today. Let's build this thing in the right way for the long term. Adam, do you have a question or just a microphone? Steve's got a question.
Okay. So my question is about the APM and how the analysts have reacted to the APM and how it might benefit ViewRay.
Analysts, meaning Wall Street analysts?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a, after that came out, there was generally a favorable reaction going on with our stock, and there were a lot of sell-side analysts reporting out on why that was the case. So there was generally a favorable reaction there. I would tell you what tempers it a little bit, and we may be experiencing this as we speak. Whenever a reimbursement change happens in the marketplace, even if it's potentially positive for us, and I think this one is, customers kind of pause and they do a little more research, and they want to make sure that if they're going to pay $6 or $7 million for something, they're getting it right. And there was a customer that Jim shared with me. We were in the midst of getting down to signing an agreement with them, and they said, we might not want to do one, we might want to do 5. So the bad news is we didn't get that system in Q2. The good news is we may get 5 later. So I think it's positive, and let me tell you why, Steve. So the bundled payment method, or people will call it value-based reimbursement, is going to encourage shorter treatment times, a la SBRT. Dr. Steinberg calls Meridian the ultimate SBRT machine out there in the marketplace, right? So we can drive shorter treatment times for patients. We can turn up the level of radiation, and concurrently while doing that have very low or 0 grade 3 or higher toxicity. That's so important because hospitals are going to be on the hook for any negative consequences to therapy that's delivered. So if you have a bunch of healthy tissue toxicity and that patient gets readmitted for more care, the hospital is going to pay for that. So more precise therapy is what they're going to be after. Fewer negative ramifications of that therapy is what they're going to be after. Also, you look at a conventional LINAC, the old technology. How many patients does that treat on an annual basis? If Martin were here, he would tell you about 250. On our system today in Amsterdam, one system, they're treating 400 patients. So think about being able to shorten treatment times, better treat patients, and treat more of them in any given year. The value proposition of Meridian under a bundled environment is even higher. So that's why they were positive. I'm super excited about it. I can tell you in 30 years in medical devices, I've never been excited about a radical reimbursement change. I'm excited about this one. B?
So I have a question for Rob.
Oh, phew.
I was wondering if maybe you could update the team on a reward that we might have in store for them for the QIP program.
Hi, everyone. So
Why don't you come up here so people can see your pretty face? Or your face.
Well,
come on, brother.
He knows I'm afraid of heights, so, you know. Oh. All right, so we're talking about QIP and a little recognition that we have for all our hardworking teammates. So Amanda and the team came up with some ideas that when we finished the first phase of QIP, how do we recognize all of our teammates? So we thought about a lot of different things. We said there's about 40 teammates, and then we said, well, then there was this person, and there was this person, and it got a little bit bigger. So at the end of the day, we decided that we were going to recognize all teammates and give them 2 additional free days off in 19. So I thought that would be really great for all the hard work and give you back some time with your family and friends. So what do you think about that? All right. That was such a loaded question we had, Amanda. I mean, I tried to pull it off, but you know.
Throw Rob the softball. Nice.
Yeah.
Anything else, you guys? Any other questions? B, anything from out there in the ether?
Yeah, there's one from the email. There is a question that says, is there any thought to simplifying the user software interface of the Meridian system?
Yeah, totally. So beautiful question. And this is how we talk to customers about it. When we have the pleasure, in fact, Jim, Dr. Dempsey is probably on his way in here. He was in Denver, I believe, yesterday, talking to a customer under NDA about the beautiful advancements of Olympus. And here's how I talk to customers about it. That we've solved the hard problems, right? What Jim calls the impossible problems. He has thrown his awesome team against those problems and solved how you deliver really precise radiation therapy. And there are so many cool innovations that are coming that not only have direct impact to patient care, but really smooth out and speed up the workflow of our system. So one of the things, as crazy as it is, that's out there is we don't treat enough patients on a daily basis. Well, what the heck does that matter? If we treat more patients on a quarterly or annual basis, actually that doesn't matter. But we see the opportunity to get ourselves to treating more and more patients, even on a daily basis, which is going to mean even more patients on an annual basis. So part of Olympus is delivering even better, believe it or not, clinical care than what we're delivering today. And another part of it is smoothing and streamlining and making our workflow even more elegant. How'd I do? Reasonably accurate? Okay, good. One more question and then I got to go. Tom?
Sure, yeah. I was curious to know how we're doing against Elekta.
In the marketplace?
Yeah.
I think we're doing very well against Elekta. I'm horribly biased already, just 1 year in, but I will tell you, hand over heart, what I believe. I believe they have a stack of physics challenges that are hard to solve. And some of you know a lot more about physics than I do. But they're shooting a beam that's about twice as wide as ours, from about 50% further away through a high field magnet. Now, some of you may know how to solve that problem, but it doesn't appear that they do, at least yet. So when it's a sincere head-to-head challenge between Meridian and Unity, our batting average is very high. Here's where it gets sticky. And there was an order, it's not really an order, but there was a press release about a big customer of ours called Genesis Care that chose, quote unquote, Unity for a 9-system deal. Where it gets challenging for us is when Elekta has a broad number of conventional Linux systems, and they can play let's make a deal. It happened at a hospital in New Jersey. I guess I won't mention their name. So tempting. But anyway, they were all the way down the path with us. The clinicians were in love with Meridian, and then Elekta came in and said, we'll upgrade all your conventional Linux for free. We will give you free service for 5 years, and we'll give you free tech refresh for 5 years. Okay, all yours. Now you have a system that can't treat patients, by the way. And I mean, I don't mean to be flippant. They have treated on 2 of their big centers, MD Anderson and Royal Marsden. They have treated in about a year in one instance and 8 months in the other, a number of patients that we treat in 1 day. So can they solve that? Perhaps. We'll see. We're assuming they can solve it. But a customer said to us recently that what you have in Unity is a research system, and what you have in Meridian is a clinical system. And there is an extraordinary amount of work ahead of them, I think, to get anywhere near to what we're doing. I admit to being biased, but I think we're in a great position relative to the competition. Where they can play let's make a deal, it's harder for us. Good? All right, you guys, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the meeting. We'll be talking to Wall Street.
All right, excellent. So for those that, lots of new faces in the room. So for those that don't know me, my name's Adam Podbelski, and I'm privileged to work with and for our customer readiness and our HPMS team. For those of you that do know me, you also know that I'm incredibly passionate about something else. Any guesses? Does anybody remember what I'm so passionate about because it absolutely is more important than strategy? Culture, very good. You guys can read the screen, so I'm glad you're paying attention. Is culture. And when we talk about culture, when we talk about our culture and how special it is, we often reference our shared values. Right? Our 6 shared values are incredibly important, and they're incredibly important because they articulate our shared beliefs and they help guide our behavior with teammates, customers, and patients. But let's be real for a minute here. Lots of companies have shared values. Lots of companies put them up to the wall and they talk about them. what really differentiates us here at ViewRay, what makes our culture so special, is the intentionality that we have behind it, the purpose we have with which we approach our shared values. The fact that we measure our shared values and how we're performing against them. The fact that we put goals up and that we put processes and procedures behind our culture. That's what makes us different, and that's what makes us special. So just like a marksman doesn't get up and for the first time shoot an arrow and get a bullseye, just is the same way that our culture won't be great out of the gate without putting work and intentionality behind it. So to end today's meeting, I'm really excited to share with you. I'm going to bring up one of my favorite teammates, Brandon, who leads the HPMS team, to share with you a little bit more about how we're going to add more intentionality and rigor behind our culture. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, Adam. So guys, I have the privilege and the opportunity to share how we're going to be intentional about our culture and the next steps we're taking ViewRay through. And that's through our culture ambassadors. So you might say, what's a culture ambassador? Culture ambassadors are our teammates, and our teammates have dedicated their time, gone over and above their day-to-day jobs so that we can be intentional about our culture. So what does that mean? Well, as Adam mentioned, being intentional about culture takes work. It means setting a goal, tracking to that goal, putting a process in place. And I'm happy to say this team is off and running. We have a meeting, we have goals, we have a process in which we are identifying opportunities, brainstorming ideas, working on execution. So you'll see our teammates are spread out all around ViewRay, and that's intentional again. We recognize that culture, as defined by our mission, vision, and values, is really about how we interact with each other on a day-to-day basis. So we know it's important that we have teammates that are on the ground and see how that culture is being played out at every location and making sure we address that. Structurally, you've got this team, and we've actually already had several meetings, and I'm very excited and proud of this team so far because of their enthusiasm, their passion, and their creativity for all things culture. I'm really excited to see what they do next. And I'd actually like to ask all of you to help me thank them for their time and effort already and what they plan to do to come. So I'm actually going to end with an ask for each and every one of you. So as we talked about, culture is how we interface as teammates on a day-to-day basis. As you guys see opportunities and ideas of how we could be even better, we could make working at ViewRay even better, grab your culture ambassador, tell them all about it, and we'll do what we can to make it happen. With that, I want to hand it back to Adam. Thank you for the time.
Okay, team, that is a wrap for this quarter's town hall. Want to thank you all for carving out some time and participating. Want to thank you for everything that you're doing, for making ViewRay fantastic, living our culture, crushing that QIP boulder. Hope everybody enjoys that extra time off. And again, thank you for your participation in today's town hall. Stick around. We've got some local stuff that we're going to do before we're going to get Helen up here, and we're going to do a little bit of local pieces on the QIP before we turn it over for some food and some ice cream. Excellent. So sit tight. Helen, where are you? Oh, Helen's right over there. Let's give Helen a round of applause. Come on, Helen. All right, thanks, Helen.
I'm Helen, in case you don't know. So I wanted to say a couple of words about QIP, and then I wanted to do the very fun part. This is why I'm always up here, right, is to give things away. QIP, so as you've heard, a lot of